Let's bring in Sky News contributor Kosha Gada. Kosha, that was precisely my takeaway from reading some of these emails. The utter disdain these people have for ordinary Americans, for ordinary people outside their elite circles.
Yes, as you say, Rita, even a broken clock is twice right, or right twice a day. It felt like a through the looking glass moment for me, because what he was saying is what you and I and other people talk about, certainly on the right side of politics, all the time, every day, every week. And it was just really bizarre to hear them say that. I thought Mika Brzezinski's face was a little bit funny, like there was cognitive dissonance going on in her head, and she couldn't quite work out. Should she debate him? Should she accept it? And I also think it was funny because he, Anand, the contributor over there, is part of that same elite class that looks down on most of the rest of us. But it was interesting that he was excluding himself from it and creating this new category called the Epstein class. You could say that that's a super elite within the elite. And it was interesting in that it was bipartisan, sort of. He's sort of lumping them together, bipartisan folks whose names are showing up in the Epstein files. So maybe the edifice is cracking a little bit and we're getting out of this left versus right thing, because there are offenders from both sides, certainly in those vast emails that are still being analyzed.
I would argue plenty of the MSNBC hosts are also in that class. They may not be in any way connected to Jeffrey Epstein, but they also have disdain for their fellow countrymen and look down upon them as the great unwashed that they have to coexist with. Now, more on those emails in the Epstein files, which have also lifted the lid on Ghislaine Maxwell's strong ties to the Clinton Global Initiative, one of Bill Clinton's post-presidential projects. Kosha, Ghislaine Maxwell reportedly played a major role in funding and establishing the Clintons' charity.
Yes, this gets from bad to worse. We know that Bill Clinton has been named in the files and seen and photographically in the emails along the way for all the salacious stuff with the girls and the women and allegedly, those things in that category. But now there's the other side of it, soft corruption, we call it, because all of these things, the Clinton Global Initiative and other ways in which these folks make money, it may not be illegal on the surface, but you really do know that there are quid pro quo type deals going on in there. People have long reported on that in relation to the Clinton Global Initiative. And this just adds another layer to that of all the people, Ghislaine Maxwell was an instrumental player in setting that up and procuring those donations and funds for them. So I think in the court of public opinion, it's going to be pretty hard for the Clintons to come back. They're kind of out of the main stage of politics anyway, but this is certainly not helping them.
Now to another leftist media personality shocked by the names featured in the latest Epstein document dump. Here is Bill Maher, and he had this to say about some of the high-profile individuals and the emails they sent the convicted pedophile.
Genghis Khan, I'm sure, did his raping and pillaging, but he wasn't a phony about it. He didn't pretend he was a good guy, I would imagine.
No.
Some of the people, Noam Chomsky, that was like the deal breaker for me. Noam Chomsky, Deepak Chopra did you find me a cute Israeli? He says, this is in an email. And then they go on about it and just joke about it. How can you listen to this guy as a guru after this? I'm sorry, I'm not trying to pick on him. I know him. He seems like a nice guy. But obviously there's this other side to this Peter Attia guy I saw him on 60 Minutes recently, this great guru of health, and he's saying some of the...
Oh, man.
What?
Some of his stuff was like...
I go into Jeffrey Epstein withdrawal when I don't see him, he says. The problem with becoming friends with you, he says to Epstein, the life you lead is so outrageous, and yet I can't tell a soul.
That's terrible. It is an eye-opener, I've got to say. Noam Chomsky, I wasn't as shocked to see Noam trying to advise Jeffrey Epstein about how he can fix his public image. But some of these high-profile names and the communication they had with this man, even after he was convicted of these hideous offences. We talked about Fergie and the former Prince Andrew yesterday. Kosha, there are so many who should know better and I think whose reputations are going to be tarnished by this association with Epstein.
Yes, if you've got MSNBC, Mika Brzezinski, and Bill Maher now all jumping on this bandwagon of genuinely being surprised, the cynic in me tends to think maybe they're not really that surprised, but they have to pretend that they're surprised. Not that they knew about specific individuals, but just broadly what happens when people are very powerful. And certainly everybody knew the situation or the reality with Jeffrey Epstein after he was convicted, and they were very happy to continue rubbing shoulders with him. That piece was sort of an open secret, just like Harvey Weinstein in Hollywood was an open secret. They look the other way until it is impossible to ignore. And maybe, again, that edifice is cracking a little bit, where you even see prominent people on the left calling attention to this further. And I think the big long and short outcome of it is trust in institutions, trust in power structures and powerful people is at such a low in our culture and in our society right now. And this is just only going to further corroborate that in people's minds, that we're being basically ruled and run by a bunch of folks that think they can do whatever and consequences don't apply to them. And maybe the reality is so far they haven't.